Hello and welcome to the Fit and Free podcast. This is a podcast for women who want it all, to feel strong and confident in their bodies, as well as enjoying a sneaky mug on a Friday night. I'm an exercise physiologist and sports nutritionist, here to teach you how to achieve your body goals without food and your body controlling your life. So let's jump in. Hello, you guys, and welcome back to another ep of the Fit and Free podcast. I'm excited about today's episode because we are speaking to how the hell to stop overeating on the weekend. And in this episode, I'm going to be speaking to this in kind of two different lenses because I see it time and time again. There's like two different people who are struggling with this pattern. I've got my ladies who are hardcore dieting and really restricting themselves, really dropping their calories really low, and then it gets to the weekend and then they're like, well, I've been so good this week, I deserve a little bit of a treat. And all of a sudden that treat turns into an explosion of so many calories, and then they start feeling really guilty about it. They start really feeling shit about it. And then they just tell themselves, oh, I have to be good again this week. I have to restrict myself. I have to add in extra cardio because of all the damage I've done this weekend. Maybe it's not I deserve it. Maybe it's because you ate clean all week, really healthy, and then you're just craving a big bowl of pasta, or you're craving a pizza or a donut. And because you haven't had it all week, you've really eaten foods that are really unsatisfying. You get to the weekend and then, you have one donut and then all of a sudden you've had 3 donuts and then you're feeling really shit about it. Then you could be saying to yourself, well, I've already fucked up the morning. I may as well fuck up the rest of the weekend. It doesn't matter anymore. And pull the fuck it button. And then again, it's that going back into that restriction pattern on Monday and just telling yourself, again, I'm going to be good. And I'm also talking through a different lens of my ladies who are restricting themselves all the time. Like, you are so terrified of eating too much because you don't want to undo your progress. You absolutely don't want to gain weight. But your pattern is when you go out, you do tend to lose control. Or maybe you go to an event, or maybe you go to the movies, or maybe you go to your friend's party or a family dinner. And every single time you end up in that situation, you always end up overeating. Then, of course, you feel extremely guilty about it. You beat yourself up for a few days. And then, of course, you just go back to the low-key restriction. So it's not necessarily you mess up the entire weekend. It's you mess up just one time. You eat out and then you really go back to hardcore restricting. Maybe you skip a meal the next day, or maybe you even add in some extra exercise to make up for it. So I'm talking to all of you guys in today's episode because obviously the emotion that comes with this is just torture, and it's no way to live your life, and it robs you from so much happiness and pleasure within your life. It also, changes the way that you're showing up every single day, whether that's in your career, whether that's in your home life, with your kids, with your husband, with your partner, with your family, whatever that looks like. It has such a ripple effect in so many elements of our life, and that's why I really want to bring this episode to you guys to help you to stop with this pattern. So let's talk about why it's happening, and I'm going to be pointing out a few different reasons, so in hopes to bring into your awareness of why you may be stuck in this pattern. So number 1 is restrictive weekday eating. So what I'm speaking to there is literally actually not eating enough during the week. So my hardcore dieters, or for people who are actually just not eating enough for the amount of exercise they're doing because they don't believe that they can eat more because they're going to gain weight. Like, I'm talking to you ladies, all of you, because so many people are restricting their food intake during the week, which can lead to increased hunger and increased cravings. And by the time the weekend arrives, this is going crazy, right? So this restriction can create a reward mentality where the weekend becomes a time to indulge. And the other side of it, if we're actually restricting the foods that we are craving, then it starts to build up like a volcano. All of a sudden, we can't handle it anymore. Instead of just acknowledging our craving, our eating 1, we eat 5. So it's absolutely from not eating enough and having that mental restriction. Then the second reason why is the perfectionism mindset, the all or nothing mentality. And this kind of goes hand in hand with the restriction, right? Because this is the mindset piece behind like fucking your food up, basically, right? It's that, oh, I've already messed up my breakfast, so what's the point? I've already had too many calories at lunch, so I can eat whatever I want for dinner. And if you know me, we are always talking about strategy, but we're also talking about our mindset as well, because we can have the best strategy in the world, being like, yeah, I've got to eat this much this week, and I've got to hit these macros and do this exercise. But if you're still struggling with the all or nothing mentality, then you're not going to see results, because it's going to be that constant roller coaster of ups and downs and ultimately plateau, putting in all the effort for nothing to show for it. So that's absolutely the next reason why this happens. So signs this is you're telling yourself things like, I am going to start on Monday. Or like if you feel like you've messed up one meal, like you've gone over your calories, then you'll say, F it, what's the point? I'm just going to eat all of this and then I'm going to start again, or I'll restrict tomorrow, or I will skip a meal tomorrow and I'll just have a black coffee for breakfast. So of course the all or nothing mentality. Then the third reason why this can happen is your environment. So your environment plays a huge role in your food choices. Like think about it. Think about like during the silly season when we've got so many things on, Christmas parties, all of the things. It makes it harder to, maintain a healthy lifestyle. Especially if you don't have a healthy relationship with food and you don't actually understand how to fuel your body correctly. This is why I'm such a big advocate for this, but anyway. But yeah, so of course, your environment, if you're going out more, you're going to be like, you're going to be influenced a lot easier to have, these higher calorie sweet foods, more alcohol. So of course, that's going to influence your choices. And then we compare that with the first two of having a restrictive mindset, a restrictive diet, and then the all or nothing mentality, plus these social events. Of course, it can be such a roller coaster of losing control and overeating. The next cause that is super, super common is actually peer pressure. So going out for food with your friends, or, if you're going to a party and everyone else is, having alcohol, of course, there's going to be an element of peer pressure. Like, especially in Australia, oh my God, like if you turn up to an event and you say, yeah, I'm not drinking, everyone's like, yes, you are. Maybe it's just my friends, but that's how it goes. But there's a lot of social pressure, to want to fit in when we're going out. And, we can get in our heads a lot in and around like, oh my God, like what are people thinking of me eating this? Oh my God, they're going to judge me. And sometimes we just do something. Sometimes we're eating stuff just because everyone around us is doing it as well. But deep down, we don't actually want to be doing it. We don't want to be going out for those drinks. We don't want to be going out for all this food. But in order to be, to fit in socially, then we do it anyway. Or, if you're going out for food and there's like lots of food on the table, maybe you might even be full. However, you just keep eating the food, right? Because it's around you, you're around everyone else is doing it. So of course that's going to influence the way that you're showing up as well. So that's another reason people can absolutely be overeating on the weekends. Then the last one I wanted to speak to is the emotional and mental exhaustion, right? Like after a long week, you might use food as a way to unwind and reward yourself. So I really hope by explaining some of these reasons why it could be happening to you, it's really, shone some light onto some things that you potentially could be doing that is actually causing you to overeat on the weekends. And it's so important to be looking at this because we know the ripple effect of what this really does have on our life. Like the guilt and shame that comes alongside overeating and losing control is horrendous, right? It can really impact your relationship with food and ultimately your self-esteem. Then, of course, the consequences of it is, not getting anywhere with your body composition goals. Because, if you're in the restriction and then overeating cycle, overeating can absolutely lead to a calorie surplus overall, can lead, you're trying to lose weight and, you're trying to stick to a calorie deficit a week, but then it gets to the weekend and you literally undo all of your progress. Or for my ladies who are really, really restricting themselves like, you know, not eating enough as it is, and then they'll lose control a little bit on the weekend, and then they'll go back to restriction. It's like restriction is not the answer to getting the body that you want, right? Because if you're restricting yourself, you're not fueling correctly. You're not going to progress with your training. Your body composition is not going to change anyway. So it's like some people are, you know, blowing out, overeating on the weekend. Some ladies are just completely not eating enough. So it's, you know, if you truly did care about getting the body that you want, I would really seriously be looking at this. And as you can see now, it's not just like a discipline and willpower fix. It's actually so many layers to this. It's not only a strategic point of view, but it's also some mindset shifts that you really have to look in at this. So how the hell do you stop overeating on the weekends? So of course, number one, for my people who are restricting and then overeating, like literally not eating enough during the week, easy fix, you got to start eating enough. You have to start fueling your body correctly if you actually want to stop blowing out on the weekends. Because it's that whole blowout that leads to the restriction that then leads to the blowout again, right? In order to stop the blowouts, you have to look at the restriction. So what this looks like is making sure you're understanding your numbers. You understand how much fuel your body actually needs. Making sure you're getting those macros right and really fueling your body correctly, right? Having regular meals, making sure they're balanced, carbs, fats, proteins, and making them right for you. We have to let go of these stupid restrictive diets, things that are cutting out certain food groups. We have to look at stopping the gym challenges, anything that's really fostering like an all or nothing mindset, any sort of way of eating that is like in or out, right? Hardcore restriction, because any hardcore restriction, we're going to bounce back and do the complete opposite, right? This is why it's really, really important that you learn how to actually start fueling your body correctly. Then, of course, you have to look at the mental restriction. So what are the things that you're telling yourself that you can and can't have? A really good thing to look at is like on the weekends when you are potentially losing control, what are you losing control of? Is it chocolate? Is it cookies or biscuits? Or is it, you know, salty food like chips? Or is it, you know, when you go out for food? What is the food that you often lose control of? And then how can you start eating that on a regular basis during the week? And this is something I teach my girls inside the academy. It's like you guys need to learn how to start treating every single day the same. Because if you're not treating every single day the same, then it's going to be this constant cycle of being unsatisfied and then getting to the weekend when you allow yourself to do it, falling into this all or nothing pattern, go crazy to then restrict yourself again on Monday. When you actually start giving yourself permission to eat any food that you want on a daily basis, this novelty really does actually wear off. And we had such a beautiful win in the academy this week. One of the ladies, she's doing so good. She really was struggling with these specific cookies in America, and you know, she wouldn't allow herself to eat them unless it was a special occasion, and then anytime it was a special occasion, she would often find herself losing control. So what did we do? We implemented, you know, I told her she's got to start eating the cookies every day, and guess what she wrote in the community last week? She was like, holy shit, this is the first time I've been able to have these cookies in my house with not losing control of them. I didn't even know they were there, right? And this is what giving yourself permission to eat all food actually does. You don't want to eat those foods because you can eat them every day. There's no longer this special thing that's only allowed on the weekends. And yes, whether your goal is to lose weight, your goal is to build muscle, body recomp, whatever that looks like, the same principles apply. The next thing to really help you guys with the overeating, a really good mindset shift that you can do is instead of saying, no, I can't have this because of X, it's I can eat this today and I can eat this tomorrow if I truly want it. And just saying that one thing to yourself can significantly increase the likelihood of you losing control on the weekends, because when you're in the moment, you're practicing mindful eating, you can be like, yeah, I can eat this if I want, and I can eat this tomorrow, right? And for all my ladies who are so afraid that they're just, if I eat the foods, you're just going to continue to lose control. Yeah, well, the reason why you keep losing control is because you're not allowing yourself to have them. So that's why this mindset shift is so important for you guys. The next thing that you guys can do to stop overeating on the weekends is looking at your all or nothing thinking, looking at your perfectionism. It's such a cock block for so many women. It's holding them back from reaching their body composition goals. Because if you are the type of person who's like, oh, I fucked up breakfast, so therefore the rest of the day is ruined, I'm just going to eat whatever, or I've already gone over my calories, so what's the point? I'm going to eat whatever, everything goes out the window. Well then, yeah, of course you're going to continue with this pattern. This is why you have to look at your mindset and letting go of this all or nothing thinking and being like, oh, okay, cool, I went over my calories at breakfast. Why did I do that? Was it because I was hungrier than normal? Was it because I don't allow myself to eat this food on a regular basis? Is it because I'm going out with my friends and I just kept eating even though I was full? Was it because I wasn't listening to my body? Because like, guys, the all or nothing mindset is stemming from, protecting yourself from failing. And that's why we're so freaking hard on ourselves, because we make it mean that we're not going to see results if we fuck it up. So that's why we have to build the emotional intelligence in and around it and being like, well, hang on a minute, am I actually not going to see a result if I go slightly over my calories on this one meal? Well, yeah, your progress isn't ruined. Your progress is ruined the moment you say, F it, I'm going to screw up for the rest of the weekend, or whatever that story is. So that's why it's really, really important to be looking at your all or nothing perfectionism mindset to really help you stop overeating on the weekends. Then in terms of when it comes to social events, at the end of the day, the social event, like losing control in and around a social event always comes from the restriction mindset. So in this space, what you have to do is look at what are the things that you're telling yourself, aka what are the rules and restrictions that you have going on in and around social events, right? Because, overeating in a social event is coming down from two different factors. You've not eaten enough, like you've actually under-eaten and you've restricted yourself. And two, from the mental restriction. You don't allow yourself to have all this food on a regular basis. So as soon as you step into the room where all this food is, then of course, you're going to be like a kid in a candy store. You're not going to be able to stop, right? So that's why it's important to, again, making sure you're well fueled going in, and then also making sure that you have no rules and restrictions in your diet. Because for example, this is how I've eaten out literally every single day in Bali. I'm like, I can eat whatever I want when I want it. So why the hell would I want to eat pizza every day and feel like shit? That's not a vibe. This is the thing, so many people think that, finding food freedom is just eating shit all the day, but it's actually not. It's actually the opposite. It's actually you listening to your cravings, fueling your body, 80% of the time of healthy, nourishing food that makes you feel really good, and then, sprinkling in some satisfying soul foods when you feel like it. So if you're really serious about, stopping overeating on the weekends, it's really making sure that you're really looking at what you're telling yourself when you're at the social events and in those environments. Because this is something that I teach inside the Fit and Free Academy, is you've got to learn how to make decisions based off what you want, not on any external factors, right? If the reason why you're eating is because it's emotional, you're bored, you're stressed, if you're being influenced by other people because people around you are doing it, people are telling you that you have to join in, and you genuinely actually don't want to do that, right? Anytime you say yes for an external reason, then you're going to break trust with yourself. You're going to break trust with yourself in and around food. And then of course you're not going to trust yourself to stay in control. So practice developing self-trust and trusting in on what your body actually wants, what's going to satisfy you, how hungry you actually are all skills that you really need to learn and be in tune with, in ultimately to be able to really navigate these social events. Then of course, lastly, we have to look at our emotional and mental exhaustion. At the end of the week, if your pattern is the reason why you're overeating on the weekend is because you're just so drained the end of the week and you just can't be effed, well then it's okay, cool. You have to look at how can you take responsibility on the emotional and mental exhaustion. Maybe it's looking at outsourcing some things in your house. Maybe it's, getting a cleaner, someone to help you, with the cleaning, or maybe it's someone helping or outsourcing some of the tasks at work. It's maybe it's getting your husband to do more chores around the house, or getting the kids to help, or whatever that may look like for you. It's you actually auditing your life and actually asking yourself, am I just saying yes to everyone, and am I putting everyone before myself, or am I actually showing up for me, and am I actually prioritizing self-care? When I say self-care, it's not just about, facials and doing saunas and things like that. It's actually just, how are you showing up for yourself on a daily basis? Like, are you setting healthy boundaries? Are you just saying yes to everything, even though you're at max capacity already? It's really looking after yourself, not just from like a physical self-care point of view, but it's an emotional self-care point of view as well. And if you keep saying yes to everyone else except yourself, how are you ever going to feel stable and in control in and around food? So my loves, I really hope this episode has helped you if you are someone who is struggling with overeating on the weekend. Remind yourself that you can have this today and then you can have it tomorrow if you really, truly want it. Like always, I appreciate you, and I will see you guys in the next episode. Bye. The number one challenge that all my clients face before we start working together is a lack of clarity on how much and what to eat to lose weight. Often they are making two huge mistakes: constantly trying to skip meals or eat under 1,600 calories. Secondly, only allowing themselves bad foods like chocolate on the weekend, but end up binging, all to tell themselves they're going to start again on Monday. If you feel like you have tried every diet under the sun and still can't figure out what to eat to achieve your weight loss goals, take my free 2-minute quiz. You can find the link in the show notes down below, and it will help you figure out exactly what you're doing wrong with your nutrition and exercise, and exactly what to do to fix it, so that you can finally be confident in your body and achieve your weight loss goals.